Hi, everybody. This is Anne, and welcome back to my podcast channel. Today is Tuesday, November 12th, 2018. I know I'm just a wee bit late past my normal 2-week mark to do a podcast, but it's been busy. I'll get some admin stuff here out of the way first. If you're a new viewer, welcome. I hope that you find reason to come back and visit with me again. And if you're a returning viewer, thank you, as always, for choosing to spend a little time with me. You can find me on the web for my knitting and spinning type stuff as Woolly Wonka Fibers. I am also on Ravelry, under that same name, and Instagram and Facebook. I think that's it. You can also find me for my cross stitch stuff as Little Bird Stitcher, all one word, on Instagram. It has been a whirlwind 2 weeks plus a little. First off of note, it is very cold here in northern New Mexico. When I got up this morning, the thermometer that's actually attached to the house, so it reads at least a degree or two, or sometimes a little more warmer, was just barely getting to 12 degrees. We had snow most of the day here yesterday, so it did clear out in the afternoon and I went out and shoveled, but it was still very cold. And I thought to myself, 8:15 in the morning is totally warm enough to go walk the dog, so I did that today, and that was wrong. It was very cold. I had on a wool hat. I had a hoodie on with the hood pulled up. I had my Columbia puffy coat zipped up like as far as it would go, and gloves and thermal pants on and wool socks, and this much of my face that was sticking out of the hood was cold. I love the cold weather. I love winter. I'm so happy that it snowed, but we kind of just hyper warped into winter. It's not usually, we don't usually have that cold a set of temperatures or days where it doesn't get above freezing here until like December or January. So early for us, but the mountains across the way got a good dusting of snow, and right now, and that's all really any of us in New Mexico care about, is snowpack for next year's water. Let's see. So as I've said, I've had a crazy busy 2 weeks. I feel like I've barely been at home. I went off to Stitches SoCal, which was a ton of fun. Had a great time. If you're new to my podcast from that event, welcome. My classes were wonderful. I had such great students, you guys. They were so engaged and interested and like, yeah, let's do more. And yeah, so it was wonderful. We had a really good time in all of my classes. So if you were one of those students, thank you for attending. I will be teaching the same 2 classes in Stitches West, which is in February. Excuse me. I'm, I think, fighting a little bit of a cold off, just all the travel. Anyway, yeah, so Stitches West, which is in the Bay Area, in February. I have talked to one of my friends, Vivian, and she's going to come help in my booth / the Yarn Guys booth. But if you are in the area and you might like to get a free pass to the market and want to hang out for part of that time with us, we're a pretty fun bunch, I have to say. We try to keep it very upbeat and very fun, but especially if you have any sales experience, that you've worked either in a yarn store or someplace that you understand point of service and would like to come and help us out, we could definitely use another hand. So feel free to get in touch with me here or just hit me up on Ravelry or through my website, which is woollyWonkaFiber.com. There's a contact me button there. So that is on the horizon, but no more travel. No more travel until the end of this year, early next year. Nothing on the books anyway. So I got home from SoCal. My flight got in from LA about 7:30 on Sunday night. I drove the 2 hours up the hill. I did wash and talked to the dog, and then I repacked Tuesday morning and turn back around to drive the 2 hours back to Albuquerque for 2 days of like website, like writing for the web and small like business owner information about SEO searching. It's not something I will really go into here, but suffice it to say it was a worthwhile 2-day workshop. But I then drove up the hill on Thursday, and my friend Dennis, who's one of the yarn guys, had stopped to see his nieces in Arizona, and so he actually met me up here at my house Thursday night. So got in, he and I zipped out and got dinner. He was here for the weekend. He is a very kind person, and he skeins for me all day on Friday in my studio so I could catch up on computer work. And then he did take off Saturday morning, and I was a vegetable this weekend. So that is where I am right now. So you can see why I am a little late getting this done, and also because I have not so much to talk to y'all about, even though I've been blethering on for 6 minutes. I did want to make a quick mention about the Scotland trip that is getting organized for October of 2019. I still do not have a specific price on it yet. Susie is working on that because she needed to finalize some specifics on the lodgings. But we do have what I think is pretty close to the final itinerary, which I will toss out there if folks are interested and think you might want to join us for that tour. The week, let's see, October 22nd, this would be 2019, obviously. Arrive in Inverness and then into Inverness for lunch. And then we'll be staying at the Pitcairn House, which I will put a link to below because you guys have got to see what it looks like. It's amazing. It's amazing. Like I would spend the entire week there, just there. It's a beautiful like manor type house. But that's relaxed afternoon for whatever crafting you want to do, light dinner, early bedtime. Then the 23rd through the 26th, we'll go and we'll travel to Black Isle Yarns. And then we go north to John O'Groats. We take the ferry over to Orkney. We spend 2 to 3 days in Stromness and Kirkwall visiting Neolithic sites such as Skara Brae, the Ring of Brodgar, the Stennis Stones. I'll try to put some Google links down below, but these are amazing. Like if you've read Outlander, it's similar to that type of standing stone that's been there for eons and eons. There's also a couple museums and a brewery and some independent artisans. We'll visit their shops while we're there. Then the 27th through the 29th, we go on to Edinburgh via various Highland towns. There's a distillery we're going to visit. There is a wool mill that we'll visit, the Highland Folk Museum, and we'll be staying in Granton-on-Spey and Pitlochry. Then the 30th through November 1st, we'll be in Edinburgh. We've got a National Museum tour. There's a walking tour of High Street, and we'll visit Holyrood. And then we'll go to Dovecote Studios. There's a couple of yarn stores in Edinburgh that we'll probably try to visit. And then they have the huge Samhain bonfire celebration on Calton Hill for what we here in the U.S. call Halloween, but October 31st. And then we depart on the 1st. We're also trying to work out a way to also have a short trip add-on that would be just before the 22nd. So you could come in a couple days early to Inverness to attend the Loch Ness Knit Fest, which is in Inverness that weekend before we get there. So that would be like an optional add-on, not required or as part of the main trip, but I think tons of fun. So yeah, I think really an interesting like historical and craft oriented tour. Lots to see in that area, some things off the beaten path, which is kind of the focus of the trips that Susie and her partner put together. So I can't wait. It sounds like a blast. Anyway, when I have more information on that, I will be happy to share it here. And in the meantime, if you want to get put on kind of my mailing list for the specifics of that, just hit me up. Merrily, I've got you on the list. So I know you kind of raised your hand without even knowing what we were doing, so I will for sure send you some more information on that. Okay, let's go on to knitting here now that I've talked 10 minutes. Knitting. I have nothing I can show you. That's where we are, you guys. I am busily working on my Viking collection. I have one piece completely done. I have one piece halfway done. I cast on a third piece last night. I am assigning out 3 other pieces to some sample knitters who have volunteered. So thank you, Susan and Deb and Dennis, for taking those off my plate. Got the rest of the yarn coming to me to finish up, so I'll get those in process. That's it. I have nothing to show you. It's really, really boring. Hopefully more next time. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. That's my new phrase. We'll see how it goes. I say that all the time. I do have some spinning, however, to talk about with y'all, so let's talk about that. I finished up the Shetland that I was spinning, the Shetland wool. This is from Deep Stash. The indie dyer is called Funky Carolina. She's no longer dying, unfortunately. The colorway is Brilliant Jewels. And that is pretty darn close. It is an Aran weight, so like heavy worsted. I think it's got about 179 yards and 4 ounces. I just did it as a 2-ply. Love it. Absolutely love it. I don't really think of myself as a jewel tone person. Like I don't necessarily wear a lot of things like this emerald green or this ruby red, but boy, do I like it when it's spun up. I just love how that looks. So that is currently done and ready to move to yarn stash. I then have started a new project. You guys, I think I shared with y'all that I had picked up some handmade Rolags from Blaine Fleece and Fiber. My friend Jen owns that. Yeah. These were ones that she took to a fiber festival and she had a few left. And so I picked up 6 ounces of a combination of Finn sheep wool, which is one of my all-time favorites to spin. If you have an opportunity to do that, do it. It's great. It's softer like merino, although not quite as soft, but it's easier to spin. It has a little less bounce and a little less grease, and it wears a little bit better, but still plenty soft. You can wear it next to skin. So this is a combination of dyed Finn sheep and bamboo. So I have 6 ounces of the colorway Isle of Skye. And I had bought these this summer, I think. And then I saw Jen had another listing for the same colorway with a slightly different fiber blend, but it'll still work. That's merino and bamboo. And so I picked up another 6 ounces because I decided I would like to try to spin and then knit a garment to wear for the Scotland trip. So here is this colorway, again called Isle of Skye. It's really deep, like blue, purple, and then emerald green and forest greens. And the purple is the bamboo, so it has a nice little sheen to it. So I know I've shown you guys roving in the past, which is basically a long strip of unspun wool that's then dyed. And that's like what this is spun up from. And that's a really great fiber preparation to use to spin stuff up. However, roving is usually like one wool and something, or straight wool. It's very hard to get amounts of custom blended stuff. So you get like wool and silk, wool and bamboo, and it's usually merino or blue-faced Leicester. There's not as many like smaller breeds that are made into roving, smaller, less well-known breeds like Finn sheep. It's not as easy to find Finn wool roving, and I've never seen it on a like indie dyer level that's Finn plus silk or Finn plus anything else. So the fact that Jen, she actually handmade these, and in commercial roving, you can see on this, like the fibers are running this way. and I'll explain why in a minute if you aren't familiar with these. In commercial roving, the fibers run this way. So you're pulling the commercial roving out of this end and all the fibers are aligned, and it gives you a very smooth worsted type yarn. Jen makes these by hand, and what this is she has a board that's got carding teeth on it that's about this wide, and so she lays the fiber, whatever the mix is in this case, the thin sheep and the bamboo, onto those teeth, and she kind of combs them down, and then she takes all the fibers and she rolls it up into this little cigar-shaped form. And the way that you spin these is similar to the roving in that you pull the fiber from the end like that, and then you put the twist in it. And this creates a loftier, more woolen type yarn. Neither is, necessarily one is bad or better than the other, but it is a different preparation and it's spun up a little bit differently. So while you're spinning it, a lot of times this will give you a nice heathery look, because you can see that the fiber is not all, it's not all green. There's a mix of greens and purples, and there's some sections where there's more purple and some sections where there's more green. So these are called Rolegs, and just for those of you who might not have run into them before, they are really fun to spin. They're a nice way to get a custom fiber blend, like these from Jen. I'll link her shop below if you are a fiber nut and interested in those. So I now have 6 ounces of kind of one dye lot and 6 ounces of another. I'm gonna spin each of those separately, then I'm gonna apply them together. It'll give me 12 ounces, definitely enough to get a vest or a short sleeved layering piece out of, and we'll just see how much I have when I'm done. I'd love to get a full sweater out of it, but even if it was like a lacy cardigan, but I'm not sure I'll have quite enough. And that's okay. I don't mind that. I can definitely make something out of 12 ounces. So I'm spinning that up to be like a sock weight. And that's what I'm working on currently. If I finish the 6 ounces that I have, or the 12 ounces that I have, plus, let's see, 16, I need to spin one more 4-ounce braid of something, or 4 ounces more of something, which I have earmarked. I actually would meet my 2018 goal of 5 pounds of spun fiber. So we will see, we will find out. It'll be an adventure. I'm gonna get pretty close though. So, I still have processed stuff out of stash. I have freed up enough space in my stash storage units downstairs. I had one lone Rubbermaid container left that had a few braids in it, but I have freed up the space on my shelving unit that all of my roving fits there now. There are no floater Tupperware bins anywhere, which was the ultimate goal to get to that point. So 2 thumbs up. I'd like to, still chip away at that, but making progress, so that's good. All right, so let's move on to reading. I have not done very much reading because normally I read in the evenings when things are quiet, and with all the travel I've been doing, I just have not had bandwidth in the evenings to have enough of a brain to sit down and read much before I fall asleep. So I will tell you what I've been reading. This is a book I think I touched on briefly called The Time in Between. The author is Maria Duenas. This is the final book in my Around the World in 52 Books challenge for 2018. It's a fairly long one, but I'm about halfway through it. It was originally written in Spanish and translated into English, at least the copy I have. And I guess the best way I can describe this book is it reminds me in tone a little bit of Hemingway. It's set in Morocco, mostly in Morocco, in the years leading up to World War II. So in this book, to set the stage of it, and I think the history part of it as well as the setting is what reminds me most of Hemingway. The author doesn't write like Hemingway, but kind of the focus of the story and kind of the ever-looming presence of a great war, which is noticeable in a lot of Hemingway's writing, kind of it colors this book quite a bit. So the main character is a young woman who grows up in Madrid, in Spain. She is the child of a single mother who works as a dressmaker, and so she's basically apprenticed to the shop where her mother works as a dressmaker. So she starts out running errands and then progressively gets more responsibility in the shop. She is engaged to be married to a quiet young man who's a civil servant, and one day when they're out shopping, she meets this store manager, I guess I would call him in our vernacular, who sweeps her off her feet, and she breaks the engagement, and she leaves her mother's house, and she's in her late teen, she's 19. She goes and lives with this guy. So while she's living this life and her mother has basically disowned her, her mother shows up one day and says, your father has asked to see you. Come with me. We're going to make introductions. She's never known who her father was or has had no contact with him. So she meets her father, who turns out to be a very wealthy businessman, and he has set aside money for her over the years, and he gifts her with a large sum of cash as well as some jewelry, and it's kind of his farewell to her, welcome and farewell all at one time. Her mother still wants her to have nothing to do with him. So she takes her money, and the man with whom she's living convinces her that they're going to invest it, which they do. As far as she's concerned, he takes care of all of the financial specifics. And then they relocate to Morocco, where he says they're going to be getting passage to Argentina to set up a new business, cutting edge, all this great stuff. And then he abandons her, and he leaves her penniless. He's taken all her money and the jewelry, and he leaves her with the hotel bill as well. So she's kind of down on her luck, and she has kind of a series of catastrophic events, and eventually is in the hospital, works her way through that, and the point that I am in the book now, she has, with some help of the woman who kind of nursed her back to health, and contraband goods that the woman who nursed her back to health has been kind of selling on the black market, she has set herself up as a couture dressmaker, and she's building a clientele. So within all of this story, there's also all of the history that's happening with the nationalist factions, the looming Nazi come to power story. She's trapped in Morocco, cannot get back to Madrid. There's embargoes. There's all kinds of things that are influencing these people's lives. She decides that after she pays off her debt to the hotel for the bill that she was left with, it takes her a year to do that. She decides that she wants to get her mother out of Madrid. So she pulls in some favors from some of the wealthy women whose clothes she's been designing and making, and meets a war correspondent who is kind of the go-between to try to help get her mother out of Spain. So that is where I am in the book. Halfway through, there's a lot going on. I think it helps to at least have some idea of the European history and the European theater that was happening not only in Spain and Germany and England, but also then in Northern Africa, in Morocco, and just the beginnings of the military movements that were going to be affect those regions so much, like within the next year or two that this story is happening. and how the people in those areas are dealing with Franco's regime and the interaction of kind of local military with these larger European powers. Anywho, good stories so far. Parts of it are a little slow, but not in such a way that I would throw my hands up and not finish reading the book. The main character's story is really interesting, and the supporting characters are really good. There's a few places in it that the translation's not super seamless. It's good, but there's just odd turns of phrase that I think maybe don't have a direct English translation, that are something that's more colloquial Spanish. I don't know this for sure. I don't speak Spanish, but just the way that they're phrased in the English makes me think, that's not really like a direct word for word type translation. But anyway, I'm enjoying the book. It is my last one to read for 2018, and then I'm going to read some random things off my bookshelf. I'm not going to, just whatever I have time over the next 6 weeks, 40 days, or whatever it is before the end of the year. I'll just read some stuff. So I did want to talk about next year's Around the World in 52 Books challenge for 2019. I'll put a link down below to the Goodreads book. The topics have come out. I've decided that I am going to participate in that next year. I just read through the topics and I was like, yeah, I have a bunch of stuff that would slot into these. So if you're interested and want to join in with that, you can set yourself up kind of like a goal tracker on Goodreads. They have a way that you can participate in that. And I would love to know if you are, and if there are certain topics that really excite you. I didn't bring the whole list. Again, it's 52 books in 52 weeks, so it's a book a week. It's a fair amount of reading. But there was a bunch of just really, really fun topics in there, and I was drawn to enough of them that I decided I'm just going to do it again this year. So I think this is going to be year 5 for me in 2019. So I may do, if anybody's interested, I may do like a separate video that talks about the topics and what books I'm thinking about reading, and maybe we'll have some dialogue about that. If you would like me to do like a completely book-oriented kind of planning video, let me know. I'm happy to do that because I'm already making lists and formulating plans and trying to decide what I'm going to read for next year. So that is it for books. So let's move on to cross stitch. Okay, so this past couple of weeks, I had a new start, and that was a new Heaven and Earth design called Lady of the Woods. I did have a bunch of folks who commented on this the last time I showed it. Now, I was incorrect. Steve Roberts is not Cokie Roberts' husband. This is a different Steve Roberts. He has a bunch of artwork out on the web, although his website is defunct. And I still cannot find exactly this image. It looks like he's maybe manipulated it a few times to replace this center image of the fawn that the angel is holding. But anyway, I will also make mention that this is one of Heaven and Earth's older designs. It is copyright 2007 by them, back when they were in Minnesota. And so I would say the charting is maybe not as sophisticated as some of the later ones. I don't think it's bad, and I haven't had a hard time reading the charts. It's just there's something about them that's slightly different than the newer ones, and I can't always put my finger on it, but yeah, just beware if you decide that that's what you're going to do. So anyway, let me show you where I have gotten to. Here is my little corner. I started in the upper, what is this, left-hand corner? Sorry, we just lost some light. It got really dim in here all of a sudden. But this is this section right here where there's some magic or something happening. So I got the magic going on. It doesn't look like really anything at all except dark blues and a whole bunch of confetti. But that is what I got accomplished in the days that I worked on that, which I am very happy about. And I have several of the Full Coverage Fanatic prompts for 2019 that this will come out for again. So I will be able to utilize that. I am working it on a 25 count even weave magic grid, nothing crazy, and kind of my usual mode of doing those. I just like the coverage on that with 1/1 full crosses, and I just like it. There you go. I just like it. The next piece I'm just going to talk about because I have a finish. I finished my piece that I was working on called Key to My Heart, and I normally would have that to show you, but I had to run up in town to look for another frame. So I went to my local framing store, and while I was there, I dropped that off to be framed. And so I will have it next time because they apparently were fairly quiet, and she said actually they might even have it done this week, but you know, no rush, we'll see. If you follow me on Instagram, you've seen like the finished piece. I worked on it in the hotel while I was gone, but it'll be framed and ready to rock and roll next time I'm here to show you guys. So then I have been working on my 6 of Swords piece. This is another Heaven and Earth Designs, artwork by Stephanie Law, out of her tarot card series. Love this one. I had finished the first page earlier this year, so I have started on page 2. Let me get these unhooked. So again, started in this upper corner, and I'm working this way for right now. So here's where page 2 started. And you can see like I think it's a moon. I don't know, whatever this curve is reflected here. See that, and it looks like absolutely nothing up close. It's going along fairly quickly. I have today and tomorrow left in this 5-day rotation to work on this, so I'll get a few more blocks filled in, but that's where I am right now on this one. Just gonna work on it a couple more days, and then this rotation will be done. So there's that. Again, 25 count magic grid even weave. Let's see. Okay, so let's talk about plans for the next couple of weeks for my cross stitch. Oops, sorry y'all. Everything's like further away than I thought. Okay, so next up, starting Thursday, running through the weekend, I will be working on my Which Way project. Artwork by Molly Harrison, also Heaven and Earth, because I've got a gazillion of those. I also finished a page on this year, and I had started on page 2. So I've got that, and I'm working on her really awesome hat, and I've got the moon happening in the background of this one. So this actually will come out for 5 days for the end of this week, and then I'll show you the other thing I'll work on, and then this will start again to finish out the month of November. So I think it's maybe even 6 days. Hang on, and I'll tell you for sure. 2. Yeah, it is 6 days. Is that right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep. For whatever reason, I had like a short rotation on one thing. With travel, I'm not even sure what I did at the beginning of the month, but here's what I'm doing for the end of the month. So this will be the rest of this week, and then it'll be the 25th through the 30th of November to work on that. So hoping to get some good traction in here and, you know, kind of get down here further in her hat, and maybe also be able to work on some more of her hair, which is what's happening in that section. So even though this is a mini, I love the detail in this. I think it looks great. I'm really, really happy with it. So that is the upcoming project. And then the 20th through the 24th, my Tiny Decisions app picked Prairie Schoolers When Witches Go Riding. I'm working on this big one, the bigger of the two pieces. And I am stitching this on a linen that was hand dyed by me. And this is where I got to, during Arbitrary August, I got all the black stitched in this upper section. So I still have to do there's the orange background and then the yellow, that's the detail. So I'll probably start that or work on that first, and then I'll start on the letters down there, which is the next kind of piece to be done. So that'll also get 5 days this go round, which I am looking forward to. I'm subbing out all of the called for floss with silks that I hand dyed. So I'll pull those next. Sorry for the crinkling. Sorry again for the crinkling. Could have maybe gotten these out, but I didn't. So there's the black, there's the brown, and there's the pumpkin orange. So those are the colors I'm using for it. I'm not totally sure about this one yet. I may replace it with another one of the golds, but I think that's what I had slated for the little bit. You can see the pumpkin stems. So red disappears. So I may stick with it. I'll do a couple stitches in it and see when I get to that point if it's too bright, but I think it might work. And here it is against the fabric. So that is that project. That will get me through the end of November. So I thought I would talk hold please. I have one other thing to show you all. It's my Color and Cotton Fabric of the Month Club. This is hand-dyed Jobelan, 32 count on the colorway Alabaster. And it is I'm getting the neutral. This is way pinker than it is in real life. It's just, that's pretty close. It's kind of a pinky gray, but it's very pale with just a little bit of modeling. Nothing crazy. Sorry about the dog making noise. She's supposed to be lying down, but she is not. That's this month's, October's Fabric of the Month Club from Angela. Another great one that I think it would be gorgeous to have something springy on that, because it kind of reminds me of like really, really soft spring pink. But nothing specific planned for it yet, just mentioning that it came so you guys could enjoy seeing it. Okay, so I thought I would talk briefly about my December plans to finish up 2018, and then I think I have decided on rotation plans for 2019. So interestingly enough, a lot of the projects that came up on my Tiny Decisions app, they're not exactly holiday themed, but for some reason they kind of remind me of winter. I do have 2 new starts happening in December. So the first one is going to be, I have a ornament, one of the round ones from Hade. I cannot remember the name, and I write it down? Yes, Long Winter's Nap. And I'll show you all of these when December comes, but I'm just kind of doing the back of a galloping horse version. So I'm going to start that on the 1st, and then I'm going to start my Winter Fairy by Joan Elliott on the 21st for winter. So I will have those 2 new starts that will be happening in December. And then the other projects that will be slotted in for 5 days for the rest of the remaining days of that month are Mirabilia's The Stargazer, my Celtic Year, which is a Joan Elliott piece. And then, nicely enough, Tiny Decisions picked me out the 12 Days of Christmas, my Jim Shore piece. So I'll work on that actually up until the time I start Winter Fairy. And my plan on Winter Fairy is to work on her from the 21st through the end of the month, which actually gives me 10 days on it, but I think some of those days there will not be much stitching. So it may wind up being more like 5 days worth of work on it over those 10 days. We might have plans, I don't know. Normally my husband and I have a very quiet Christmas at home together. We don't usually travel. But we're talking about maybe doing something, just the two of us after the holiday, before New Year's and before he goes back to DC. So if we're traveling, I will figure something else out to take, or just if it's a day or two, which is kind of what we were talking about, I might not take anything at all. I might just make myself knit because I got a lot of knitting to do. Okay, so January of 2019. So what I have decided to do is kind of 3 things each month. I will be working on, I've picked, I don't know that it's officially going to be a focus for a finish because I'm not sure I'll finish it, but I have picked a focus project for 2019, and that is going to be my Winter's Encounter, which is a mini from Hade, Heaven and Earth Designs. I have the first page finished. I believe there are 9 full pages, and then there's 3 other partial pages. So I have no idea what that's going to do for me in terms of how much progress I make on that. I'm just going to get as much done on it as I can. So I have allotted basically 10 days each month, and I'm going to break that up into 2 5-day blocks so I don't get burned out on it after, day 9. Just keep it fresh since I'll see it a lot. I then went through the 12 monthly topics that I set up for Full Coverage Fanatics on the Facebook group. And for each one of those, I have selected a full coverage piece, and I'm going to work on that for 5 days. So that's 15 days out of every month taken up. That leaves me most months, except, well, February is a little short, but I'm just making it work with the Winter's Encounter project. That leaves me 3 other 5-day blocks to work on other things. And so I will be using the Tiny Decisions app to pick those items at random. And I think that will work pretty well. The months that have 31 days, I'm going to add in an extra day on Winter's Encounter. So I'll get the equivalent of like 1 more 5-day block. Cumulative days over the course of the year by the time you add those extra months that have 31 days rather than 30 in them. And I think what I might do, and I think was part of my hesitation to just do randomly designated projects, is I think I'll have 16 projects by the time that the year comes up. Either 15 or 16, I'd have to go back and count. Somewhere here I have my list, and I could just tell you. Because now that I've finished Key to My Heart and I've had some other finishes, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. I have 17 pieces. Excuse me. 17 pieces. And I'm, as you all know, part of the reason I'm starting more things this year is because I want to not start anything in 2019 along with Sarah over at Stitch and Mommy. I do think, however, that I may put a couple of the bigger or full coverage pieces on hold and not plan to work on them at all next year, so that the pieces that I do work on, I can kind of get, they'll come up more often in the random choice generator. And I think that may be the way to go with some of these, because I was thinking like 6 of Swords that you all just saw. I don't really have a deadline for it. It's a project that I know is going to take a while. And it's not, I love it. I want to stitch it. It's not a priority piece that I really want to get up on my wall. So I was thinking I might pull that one, and I might pull Shoot the Moon, which also, was just something I was working on that I'm enjoying stitching, but if I didn't get a ton done on it, I would be okay with that. Weirdly, I want to leave in a stitching shelf, which, I mean, if I only work on it for a couple of days or a week or so next year, is not going to have a ton of progress to show on it, simply because it's such a massive piece. But yeah, I think that's what I may do, and try to kind of focus down, drill down a little bit tighter on some of the options, so that I don't have quite as many things that'll come up in the rotation. And maybe we'll work on getting a finish on some of those smaller ones. So we'll see. I don't have a lot of small ones left. I have the When Witches Go Riding Prairie Schooler, and I have the Autumn Leaves Prairie Schooler. Beyond that, everything else is basically a massive project. So that just is what it is. That's what I like. That's what I like to stitch. So that's what I got. So anyway, I think that looks pretty good. I printed myself out some calendars, just a freebie download. Print-a-calendar.com has all kinds of ones, so I just plotted out some monthly options. I tried a couple of different versions to see if I felt like that might work better if I did less days versus more days, but I think I'm going to stick with the 5 days, because that seems to be working really well, where I can get visible progress in on something, and still, you know, have a bunch of stuff to work on. So yeah, so that's my current tentative plan for 2019. You know, as always, subject to change. Those of us who are planners, we do like to make plans and then unmake plans. But anyway, I think that's it for today. I think I covered everything. As always, if you have questions, comments, just want to say hey, please feel free to contact me below. I always enjoy talking to you guys. For everyone here in the US, have a very happy Thanksgiving holiday. I will be back to talk to y'all after that crazy happens. My folks are coming into town a week from today, and they'll be here through the whole holiday weekend. So while it's always great to have them visit, it is not my normal schedule, so I will record after they have headed back to the East Coast. So looking forward to spending some time with them and hearing about their travels and all that good stuff. So happy Thanksgiving, everybody here in the States. I will catch up with y'all at the end of Thanksgiving before we head into the final month of 2018, if you can believe it. This year has gone by so fast. Yeah, so that is it. Be well, be happy wherever you are. I hope you've been able to carve out some time for all of your crafty endeavors and are enjoying working on those. So until next time, take care.